the introductory statement, so give us about 2 minutes.
Oh, he's letting me go first?
Yes.
Yeah,
Give us 2 minutes who you are and the political...
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank the Southwest Civic Association for sponsoring this, and I want to thank you, the citizens, that have so much interest in the future of your city for being here. And I'm really heartened by it because I've been to other candidate forums that aren't as well participated, that are not, don't draw as much people. A lot of you know my background. You know that my family's lived in Chula Vista for almost 100 years. Next year, my family will have been here for 100 years. My grandparents first came here and they settled right down there by the salt works on my father's side. On my mother's side, my grandmother lived here on Zenith, and I grew up in Harborside. I really feel that in the 70 years that I've lived here in the city and raised my children and now my grandchildren, that I really know the city and I really love it. And I am so grateful for the quality of life that it's given for me and my family. And I want to make sure that that same kind of quality of life is ensured for all people. My family came here with nothing. They were very, very poor immigrants. And I hope that, you know, my family can serve as an example to other families that with work, education, and perseverance that you can succeed, that everyone has the opportunity to succeed in our city. And I want to make sure that those opportunities are shared by everyone. I've been mayor now for almost 4 years, and I feel that in the 4 years we've accomplished a lot. I know a lot of people don't like that I've been the mayor that passed 2 tax measures in the time that I've been in office, but I really believe that the benefit that's conferred to the community is well worth it. Measure P of the approximately 15 million that we have spent so far in Measure P, most of the projects have been done in improvements in the Southwest area, deferred maintenance that was deferred for many years. And I really feel that the quality of life is being enhanced not only here but in the rest of our community. And I'd like to have, if the bell went off, I'd like that during question and answers be able to elaborate on that. And I really thank you for your support. Thank you very much.
Here you got 2 minutes to introduce yourself and tell us your political path.
First of all, thank you for organizing this event. Mayor, my girlfriend, everybody here. I decided to get involved in politics about 6 years ago. It was 2012, and a nonpartisan organization invited me. And I helped a candidate, and what I learned there, and it's something sometimes we need to pay attention. Sometimes it's not about Republican or Democrat, because when an argument becomes Republican versus Democrat, you can't find a solution because we dislike each other once we touch that. That motivated me to get involved. I got involved. There was a special election in 2013 for state senate, and I've always felt I want the government to be more accountable to the taxpayers. I want government to be more like the Apple Store and less like the DMV. I've grown in the private sector like many of you, and one of the reasons why I decided to get involved was developing a property, trying to get a business permit here in Chula Vista. It's a nightmare. It is so frustrating to do business here in Chula Vista. On that election, when the campaign that I was winning lost, I told to myself, if I want change, I need to be the leader of that change. It's not, again, Republican versus Democrat. It's who is an independent voice for you, the taxpayer, you, the citizen. That's what you are, my special interest. I've been extremely focused on delivering to you and listening to what you need. I am committed to the taxpayer. I'm committed to the citizen. I was born here in San Diego. I grew up in Tijuana. My first 2 jobs in America were here in Chula Vista. I bought my first home here in '96. I am committed. I love the city. This is where I learned how to ride a bike, and I love our city. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Before we get to the rapid fire questions, just a reminder, if you have questions for these specific candidates, write them down on an index card and turn them in. And I still have some old ones as well that I feel are related to the mayoral office. So rapid fire question number one. We'll go with Hector first, since you deferred last time. Question one, will you support having the Charter Review Commission prepare for a ballot charter change on the way the council and mayor salaries are determined to get them in line more with the rest of the cities in the county?
One of the things where, when I look at numbers, I'm a numbers-driven person. I see how the mayor of Chula Vista makes more money than the mayor of San Diego. Like, that's not right. So we have the charter, but I am committed. Right now we have a budget deficit. Next year we have a budget deficit, close to 10 million. 5 years from now, the budget deficit is going to be 26.6 million. 10 years from now, it's going to be 43 million. You can look at, there was a great article by the gentleman, Mr. Gustavo Solis, who put it on the Union Tribune. There will not be a single pay increase as long as I'm mayor and we have a deficit. Because you have to balance your checkbooks. We have to balance our checkbooks. It is not accountable government to continue doing the same thing and expecting same results. As soon as I get elected mayor, I'm gonna freeze my salary. Because we should not be making more than the mayor of San Diego when the city is so much smaller. That's what I'm committed to. Freezing my salary and leading by example. We shouldn't be making more money than the mayor of San Diego. Thank you.
Mary,
Same question?
same question.
Yes. Okay, so, yes, I believe that we should, from time to time, review the way that our salaries are being structured. And as a matter of fact, I brought up the issue on the city council dais at least 2 times since I returned to the council, since 1912. Since 2012. 2012. I'm also not that old. I got no second from the council, and you know it takes 3 votes in order to get a referral. Okay, so that's issue number 1. But the other thing is the way that you're compared to another city. And yes, I'm paid more than the mayor of San Diego, and I get 66% of actually it's only 60% of what a Superior Court judge makes. But right now, their Charter Review Commission is looking at how to restructure San Diego's salaries to make them more in line with the big cities that they are. They're proposing 100% of the Superior Court judge salary. I think, as Glenn said, it's really important to take the process of salaries away from the city council and put it into a kind of a independent process. I think that that's really important. So yes, as I've told Teresa Cerro before, I'm willing to look at that. I also think that we can't compare ourselves to other cities in San Diego County because we're doing so much more than other cities. We are such a progressive city that we have initiatives that are just really changing the way that cities operate smartly. We have, we've been awarded by the U.S. Department of Transportation to be a testing ground for drones and for automated vehicles. And we have a lot of high-tech companies that are coming to us, and they're doing that because of the innovative things that we're doing in the city of Chula Vista. So no, I'm not going to compare myself to other cities in San Diego County because I think that we're doing things a lot smarter and a lot more efficiently. And that's determined by the number of staff that we have, the staffing ratio, not only of our police and fire, but we have a little more than 1,000 employees throughout the whole city. And that is the lowest staffing ratio in the whole state of California when it comes to employees per city. What does that mean? We're running efficiently. And I think you have to look at the whole picture and not just focus on the mayor's salary.
Thank you, Mary. And we're going to come back to you, Mary, for question number 2. Will you insist that the city begin negotiations with public safety to reduce overtime in order to reduce the city's pension obligations, including possibly revising the 56-hour fire work week?
So this question is kind of strange because we negotiate with our city employees all the time. As a matter of fact, we're in negotiations now with one bargaining unit that we haven't settled a contract with. So, and part of those negotiations are always the benefit package. how much they contribute to their pension plan, how much they contribute to their medical benefits. So that's always part of the equation. One thing you have to think about when the question it asks about overtime for police and fire, there's minimum staffing level requirements. And we also have mutual aid agreements with other cities. So for example, when National City has a fire and our firefighters are called to respond, we are reimbursed not only the full cost of what it costs to send them out, but also a 5% administrative fee. The same thing goes with the police. And as a matter of fact, last year, we got over $1.3 million in grants of different kinds to reimburse us for overtime pay. So the thing is that it's kind of like a net sum loss of it all, because while we send firefighters over there to fight fires in National City, then we have to call in firefighters to our city for that minimum staffing. But we all agree, as a matter of public safety and public policy, you need those mutual aid agreements, because you would hate to have, you know, a dramatic fire or some kind of disaster here in Chula Vista, and other agencies saying, well, you don't send police and fire to our jurisdiction, so we're not going to send them to yours. That's just not the way it works in cities. You have to have those mutual aid agreements, and when you send those people out, you have to have coverage in your city as well. So, and as far as the 56-hour work week, again, there are a few of our firefighters that have that 56-hour work week schedule, but the rest of them are on 53 hours a week. They are not paid overtime until they reach past the threshold of 53 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And Hector, same question for you. Will you insist that the city begin negotiations with public safety to reduce overtime in order to reduce the city's pension obligations, including possibly revising the 56-hour fire work week?
You know, it's when we were talking about Prop A, and we were told we're going to hire 36 firefighters, 43 police officers. There was $125,000 spent on that campaign, and there was less than $1,000 spent against it. One of the reasons I run, and it took me 5 elections to finally get elected Otay Water Director, is there's people who are interested, there's people who are committed, and I am obsessed with bringing about change. Nationally, 69% of firefighters, and I love firefighters, we all do, but 69% of firefighters are volunteers. During the debates for Prop A, I asked our police chief, what's the percentage of volunteers here in Chula Vista? He said a big 0, but we're the best. Chula Vista is part of America, and they always use the metrics to hurt us, the taxpayers. I am your defender. I'm a taxpayer advocate. If it's good enough for the rest of America to have 69% volunteers, why not in Chula Vista? These budgets are out of control. This year it's 2.2 million deficit. Next year is 10 million. We can't run a city like this. So yes, I'm gonna negotiate from the beginning. And I'm gonna tell them, look, we either negotiate in good faith, or there's gonna be a ballot measure. Bless you. Bless you. And if this ballot measure negotiations don't work, the city is gonna be so bankrupt that it was gonna be an attorney, a judge, that's gonna decide in bankruptcy court how much people are gonna receive of those pensions. Those pensions are promises, very generous promises given by our previous elected officials. Everybody has been very generous with these unions, and someone has to be generous and accountable to the taxpayers. I'm your guy.
All right, thank you.
Is there a provision for rebuttal for things that are not factual?
Well, if we have time.
Moderator, what do you want to, I mean, yeah, we have time, I think we've left.
All right, yeah.
Is that okay with you, Hector?
Yeah.
You have the
I just didn't know what the time constraints were. So.
Yeah. Okay, I'd just like to say that we're not 64% of the United States. We're not Podunk, Idaho. We're not some little some little cow town in the middle of nowhere. We are a big urban city. There is no way that we can operate on a volunteer fire department or volunteer police. It just won't work, it won't happen, and I think that it would not have support of our community.
Hector?
Hector, yeah, you got it.
If you like.
Yeah, if you like.
And I will do a rebuttal on the previous one.
Yeah, sure. 1 minute.
My salary, regardless if I get a second, I will freeze my salary. I will not require a second from city council to freeze my salary, and the difference is gonna go straight to the budget. That's leadership, and that's leading by example. I'm gonna freeze my salary without asking for a second opinion from council, and the rest will go to the budget. We are accountable to you, the taxpayers.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question 3, right back at you, Hector. Will you work to revise the existing legal marijuana ordinance to be more in line with the city of San Diego's ordinance, to protect residents from being too close to them and better regulate them?
Hector, 1 second, just so we don't get into a rebuttal thing, because we have a lot of these questionnaires, only if you're directly addressed will we allow that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, Chula Vista continues to be part of America. Marijuana is illegal federally. I am not in the business of following the bad advice of what the city of San Diego is doing. I was reading from the NIDA, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, how the IQ goes down when children are using marijuana. It goes down 6 to 8 points, and you never recover them. I've read that the brain is still developing until we're 25. So just like we put restrictions on drinking, you can't drink until 21, I will work with our city attorney and with the council to lead in this and say that you're not gonna get high in our city until you're 25 at the very least. And we're gonna put restrictions, because being a parent, being a grandparent, is already difficult enough. When your kids tell you, or you tell them, hey, don't get high, and say, but it's legal. And it's legal in San Diego, and it's legal in Colorado. And said, no, I'm gonna help you. I need to sleep at night. I've never had marijuana. I don't plan to use it. I am in favor of medical marijuana. In his final days, my grandpa would he would rub cannabis oil solution, and it made his life better. So I'm compassionate, and I do believe in medical marijuana, and that should be a relationship between doctor and patient, between pharmacy and patient. I don't want this dispensaries. I don't want our city full of potheads. I don't want the image it'll give. We're a family. We're a conservative city, and I don't want it full of potheads. That scares away business. It makes us dumber. 6 to 8 points IQ that we never recovered. That was a study in New Zealand, and I'm committed against that and putting tougher restrictions. Thank you.
The city council worked for 2 years on this ordinance, and we went through a lot of research and a lot of public hearings. We examined different ways that legalized marijuana dispensary businesses were implemented in different cities. We took away best practices, and we came up with an ordinance that we thought was best. Now, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. And time will tell once it's implemented how we need to revise it. But that ordinance was written in a manner that we could quickly revise it if we felt that it was necessary.
All right, thank you, Mary. And then question 4, for you, Mary. Will you support criminal enforcement and rapid closure of illegal cannabis stores to rapidly close them down and ensure all fines are collected to be dedicated to enforcement efforts?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons that I was able to vote for this, because we were very firm about that. If we were to implement this, the sales tax had to go forward, and we were to use that proceeds from the sales tax to hire a special prosecutor, an investigator, and a paralegal to help us with that enforcement. There's no other way that this city council would have supported a marijuana ordinance without that provision in it.
Your question?
Yeah, will you support criminal enforcement and rapid closure of illegal cannabis stores to rapidly close them down and ensure that all fines are collected, be dedicated to enforcement rules?
Yes, and not only that, what this is, it goes back to, it's gonna sound like a broken record. It's gonna sound like a broken record. It's gonna sound like a broken record. Chula Vista is part of America, and we need to send the DEA, and we need to send the feds, because this is still illegal national, okay? This alleviates the budget pressure it puts on City Attorney Guggens, or if elected, Mr. Debney. We need to put all resources back in Chula Vista into keeping the library open, paving streets, public safety. This is still illegal federally, and I'm committed to that, and I don't want this city to become full of potheads. So I don't want our city and our children, the next generation, to be so contaminated by this marijuana. Also, it's so unregulated. When you go to the pharmacy and you get an aspirin, you know what percentage you're getting of each ingredient. I've read that some of the marijuana has a big THC proportions, others not so much. I've heard the comment, this is not your mother's weed anymore. We've seen overdoses, and I want for this, if this cannabis, and I support medical marijuana, but if this is going to be sold in the market, I want some regulations. I want to number this, what percentage of THC you're buying, because I don't want consumers overdosing on something that's tainted. So just like we have the FDA, hey, if the FDA can't regulate a drug, and that's the D part in FDA, why should we have a DEA, the FDA, sorry.
We'll now move forward to the questions submitted by the audience members. Anybody else have cards they want to bring up quickly? All right, you still bring them up at any moment though.
Maybe we should take Mr. Papa's question first.
Okay, good idea. Good idea. Wait, and this will be for Hector.
Hey, Mr. Pafka, respectfully, it's just a question. We're not going to have an interaction. Just a question from you.
That's fine. You want me up here? I can be heard. I'm pretty, they told me to shut up all the time. And that's it. There are a couple of things I would ask. The mayor in particular. The last 3 Tuesdays have been quiet. Why?
Because we've been dark.
What?
Because there were no council meetings.
Have you ever tuned into the news and think there are so many things happening? Get a newspaper, read it, and there are so many things happening, and you're saying nothing is going on? That is all public business.
And do you have a question for Hector? Since you asked Mary
I would say the same thing for him. Would you be having it with the nothing going on now?
Sir, I feel your pain, because we have a budget deficit of 2.2 million this year. We have a budget deficit of 10 million next year. I will be working every single day to chop at that amount. I agree, and I would be, as I was going to say a bad word, I would be very irritated, and that's why I'm running, because I feel the status quo is not accountable to me as a taxpayer. Every single day, I'm going to be committed to recruiting businesses, making Chula Vista business friendly, so that more people can come here, so they can live, work, and play in Chula Vista. I agree and I share your frustration. We should not be going dark when we have budget deficits that are going to bankrupt our city. Thank you for your question and for the patience to.
I got a couple more.
You got it back.
We got a whole series. Thank you, Mr. Kaufman.
Thank you.
Again, you can ask them privately after. So we go to Hector. In the city of National City, there is a measure for rent control that's on the ballot. What is your position on rent control for? For Chula Vista?
My philosophy in almost everything is I want limited government so that we have a big citizen. That's the relationship. Government grows at our expense, either our liberties or our pocketbook. I want for the free markets to dictate, not government. In recorded history, the best way for people to get out of poverty has been free market capitalism. Socialism doesn't work. We're seeing it in Venezuela. Fixing the rent controls drive out people, because when the owner cannot charge more than the market establishes, do you think that owner is going to fix the property? No. The price system is the only way that dictates. If you have a bad property, you're going to charge less rent. If you have upgraded your property, you're going to have more rent. I want for that relationship to be between landlord and tenant, and I don't want for the government to interfere between landlords and tenants. My philosophy is very consistent. Small government, big citizen. I want for you to achieve your God-given potential, and how do we get there? It's me getting out of your way. Me, government, getting out of your way so you can grow, so you can prosper, because that's why I'm running. When I tried to develop a property, it was a nightmare. I talked with business owners, and I won't give them a plug or a commercial, but it took them 1.5 years to get from beginning to end. With my dentist, took him 9 months. When people feel their money and their time is not, and I'll continue in my next one.
All right, Mary, same question.
Yes, I've looked at the ballot initiative that's up for vote in National City, and I feel that that ballot initiative is very flawed, and it's going to, it's just ripe for a lot of legal challenges, so I think that it's going to be tied up in courts for a long, long time, because you've got to have a balance of protecting property rights as well as the right of the tenants. And I think that in the city of Chula Vista, we've struck a very good balance with our mobile home park ordinance. And so we're one of the, I think we're only 2 cities in San Diego County that are protecting our mobile home park residents from extraordinary jumps in their space rent. When you come to the apartments, so that's a real different animal than the mobile home rental market. And so I am not in favor of rent control for apartments without a lot of analysis and studies, because I really do believe that it will chill people wanting to build new apartments, and that's really what we need to do, is get more housing stock in order for people to have rents. The reason people can charge exorbitant rents right now is because there's such a shortage of apartments, and you're not going to cure that by imposing rent control.
Thank you. And next question is for you again, Mary. What are your values for Chula Vista?
Gosh, what are my values? They're my family values, and they're the values I think that many people in the city of Chula Vista hold dear. That they want a safe place for their families to live. They want to make sure that their children have lots of opportunity for safe parks and recreations. They want to live in neighborhoods that have good streets, good sidewalks, and a good quality of life. And I really believe that the work that we've been doing in the city of Chula Vista, that people are very, very satisfied nothing's perfect, and believe me, we get complaints in my office all the time about graffiti, about trees that need trimming, about horrible neighbors that don't take care of their yards. We get so many complaints in our city, but really when you gauge that and compare it to other cities in the region, and I think that the city of Chula Vista is doing really well. So my values for the city are family values, and they're to make our families really feel comfortable for living in a city that they love. And so many people that I talk to just tell me, I love to live in my city of Chula Vista. I love my city. And so I'm really happy to hear that from so many people in Chula Vista.
All right. Hector, same question. What are your values for Chula Vista?
My values are, I am a conservative. I love our city, I love our county, I love our state, I love America. At the beginning, sometimes I feel like we lose sight of what's most important. Traditional family values, that's what I stand for. One of the, and you're gonna see it soon in my ballot statement, we can't say traditional among family values when we allow abortions here in Chula Vista at Planned Parenthood. You will never see a Planned Parenthood going into La Jolla or Rancho Santa Fe or Point Loma. The origins, the evil origins of Planned Parenthood were social engineering. They've always tried to get rid of the black babies and to the brown babies. I'm Hispanic, I just look white, but I'm Hispanic. And it's a shame that in our city, we murder babies. You know, if everybody makes mistakes, if a girl gets pregnant, let's give that baby an opportunity at life to get adopted. I don't know how we sleep at night or take a siesta if we're murdering babies. I'm a conservative. This absolutely, it moves me, it motivates me to go above and beyond, because as a Christian, as a Catholic, I can't justify the infanticide that's going on a few blocks from here. Those are my values. Conservative, pro-America, we're gonna stand for the rule of law and stick to traditional family values. Thank you.
Another question here. This is for you, Hector. Regarding the pensions for fire and police, is the underfunding of pensions caused by the city not contributing their fair share of the pension cost to the retirement system?
We have to work with police and fire and with all our city employees and say, look, you were given the most generous retirement packages in America. We, the taxpayers, we don't have those benefits. We need to be accountable to the taxpayers, because if we're so generous with these unions, we're gonna bankrupt our city. It's just not responsible, it's just not right. I'm gonna negotiate with them, and I take pride in not being liked by them. When we had the Prop A debate, one of the, almost like a condition. If you want to be endorsed by police and fire, you have to support Prop A. I was the only candidate that said no, because that money goes to the general fund. If you want a specific amount of money to be earmarked for police and fire, it takes a 65% vote, but it gets out of the hands of politicians. We were promised 36 firefighters, 43 cops. In 1 week after the election, we're told, oh, we may not hire anybody because we have a $10 million budget deficit. In the past 2 years at Otay Water, when we're doing a budget for this year, we look at this year, we look at the next, we look 5 years. What was done to us, the taxpayers? They played with our feelings, they scared us again, and this barely passed. But had this come out before the election, people would have voted it down. Had we been honest as mayor, city council, and the unions to you, the taxpayers, that the budget for next year was gonna be 10 million. 10 million deficit, and we would not hire the police and fire that were promised, I assure you 75% would have voted no on this. In the real world, we call that fraud.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, you just heard a lot of misinformation that is simply not true. So tomorrow night on the city council docket, we are considering about 22 applications from people throughout the city of Chula Vista that have applied to sit on the oversight committee. The city council has no say in where that money goes. Okay, so we have an oversight committee, just like we established for Measure P. Tomorrow, we're going to also be hearing a committee report from Measure P that will show exactly where all that money has gone, where it's come in, and where it's been spent. So it's utterly transparent. So I hope that you delve more into the facts before you just rely on the statements that were made here. Was a pension problem caused because the city of Chula Vista underfunded the pensions? That was the question. No. The pension crisis goes much, it's more complex than that. We're a part of CalPERS, which is a statewide pension system. The formulas are calculated by CalPERS, and that's how we pay into the system. For many years, CalPERS inflated the rate of returns on the investments on the pension funds, and that's how we arrived at this juncture today. However, what we've been doing in the meantime is that we've been making payments into CalPERS to catch up and to make us whole. Now, nearly every single city in the state of California is under the same kind of cloud of the pension obligation that we are. And as I told the editors when they asked me at the Union Tribune interview, is that no, we're not in great shape, but we're in better shape than some cities. Now that doesn't give us an excuse not to try to figure out a way on how to relieve this. And I believe that when the courts rule on the California rule, that will give us more tools to deal with this crisis.
A quick rebuttal, on oversight committees, you know, the special interests write the rules so that as long as the money goes to the general fund, it's good. So we have very little oversight that the money actually goes to where it is. And then saying, oh, other cities are also in bad shape. That is not accountable. Go to the Apple store and they say, oh, other phones are like that. No, we have to be accountable to you, the taxpayers. What happens is taxpayers in these unions at CalPERS, they hold cities hostage. Because why? They pay for the politicians on both parties that represent the employees that give this generous benefits. We need a bulldog to go against this CalPERS that holds a shotgun to our face and guarantees returns that are not available in the free market.
And then we'll go to Mary for this question. The two of you have a background identifying with the immigrant community. What are your views on the detention centers that have been holding children across the border in the United States?
Okay. So first of all, I'm very proud that as mayor, I reinstated the Human Relations Commission, and that we were very deliberate about selecting commissioners that represented every segment of our community, every protected status. I think that the detention centers and separating families is a horrible thing. I think that it's something that we're going to look back into history of the United States and be very ashamed that we allowed this to happen. And so I have supported resolutions on the city council denouncing the family separations. I have also supported a resolution supporting SB 54. And these are my values, they're the values of the city council, and they're the values of many of our community members, that We are a welcoming city, and what that means is that our police are not going to be used as to enforce immigration laws. And that's not something new. That's a practice that's been in the city of Chula Vista for many, many years. Some people may not like the positions that I took, but I think that they're very humane and they're very just, and they represent an America that I believe in.
Thank you, Mary. And Hector, same question for you. You have a background identifying?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Alright. So basically you have a background identifying with the immigrant community. What are your views on the detention centers that have holding children across the board?
One second, you're in Spanish, Tagalog.
I think more than,
1 second, Hector.
Wait,
So
wait
you
till the
gotta be
announcements.
able to hear. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Hector.
I think all of us are American. And that's where I identify. I identify as American. Your passports are as American as mine. I'm not gonna never put immigrants ahead of our citizens. It's America first. It's September 10th, right? We were, before the attacks on 9/11, the agencies didn't cooperate with each other, and that's why 9/11 happened. That's why President Bush created Homeland Security, because the agencies were very territorial with their information. I don't believe in welcoming cities. That's code for sanctuary city, because politicians are great with words. Welcoming city is sanctuary city. I will never protect someone who broke the law, because I will protect you, the taxpayers, the ones who are here legally. I don't believe in identifying as an immigrant. I'm an American. I don't believe in Hispanic Americans, Black Americans, Asian Americans. We're one America. And that's what my commitment is to Americans, not immigrants. Everybody here, once you're here, you're an American. And going back, we can't be protecting, and we have a protected class of folks who broke the law. We mentioned about separating families. When someone goes to jail, aren't we separating that family? When we commit abortion, aren't we separating that child from that family? Like, we have to separate families because that's the law, and that started with President Clinton. And sometimes we get part of the story and not the whole story, because you couldn't detain the kids with the adults. We have the separation of families for the protection of the kids. It's not to be evil against illegals. This has been going on for many years. Thank you.
There's no more questions, so I guess we're now at the closing remarks. Since Mary did the opening statement, Hector, you can lead off with your closing remarks. You have 90 seconds.
Folks, thank you again for being so interested in our civic affairs. I am running for Chula Vista Mayor because I care about our city. I care about you, the taxpayer. I care about you, the citizen. I am committed to winning, and I'm going to win. I had surgery right after the primary. I'm finally learning to walk again. I wasn't able to walk, and I will walk and I will work like you've never seen someone work. I am committed to you. We're gonna make Chula Vista business friendly again. I want people to live, work, and play here. We're gonna grow our city. We're gonna attack at that deficit through prosperity. Because every morning, 50 to 80,000 cars leave our beautiful Chula Vista to go to the business friendly part of town. When we put so many regulations on business owners who want to invest, who want to risk their capital, and we put so many regulations, obstacles on them, and said, screw it, I'm going to go to a different city. We're going to go to most likely a business-friendly Republican city. The offer that was made to Amazon, what's a disgrace? I'm a realtor. I write offers. Amazon had a beautiful opportunity to come here and have access to 3 airports, Brownfield, Lindbergh Field, and to expand their operation to Mexico, Amazon Mexico. You have 3 airports. You have the campus that we haven't been busy enough, because sometimes we say, oh, we're working on this, we're gonna see this. No, we're gonna get this done. I'm a get things done guy, okay? I'm gonna work for you tirelessly. I'm gonna be the biggest ambassador for businesses to come here. I want for you to live, work, and play here. 42% of the value of the house is government. We need to reduce the size of government on housing so we have more affordable housing. I know housing, I sell housing. I'm gonna sell Chula Vista, I'm gonna represent you. Thank you, God bless.
We're gonna give you 2 minutes.
Closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, it's been an honor of my life to serve on the City Council, in the State Assembly, on the City Council again, and as mayor for almost 4 years now. In the 4 years, we've accomplished so much to turn the city around. We've opened a hotel on the east side that is 90% full since its opening last year. We have another 3 hotels out there that are opening. Those TOTs, we get to keep all that money for use in our city. We are attracting so many companies right now in the Chula Vista area, drone manufacturers, high-tech companies. All that is coming to fruition now because of many, many years of preparation. On the bayfront, we have this beautiful hotel and resort center that's going to be opening, and we got a lot of criticism for subsidizing that. But on the other hand, the day after we approved the exclusive negotiating agreement, we got another developer, the Pacifica Corporation, to sign on to build 1,500 condos and a 250-room luxury hotel right adjacent to the convention center with no city subsidies, and as a matter of fact, with benefits to the city of building a fire station and funding it with $3 million to staff the fire station. So we're doing a lot in the city to improve economic development, and I'm really proud of that. The revitalization of 3rd Avenue with all those new breweries opening up. And you know what I'm really happy about? Is all those businesses that are opening up, they're young people that grew up in Chula Vista that are opening those businesses, and that's what it should be. Because in economic development, which I used to work in for the state of California, we know that the biggest job growth is not from those huge Amazons that come into your community and raise the property prices and drive out the people that live there. The biggest job growth is small businesses, and we are seeing a resurgence of small businesses that are coming in here to Chula Vista. So I have a different experience. I talk to a lot of businesses and say, you know what, thank you to your development team for shepherding us through and making it easy for us to open. So I really have thought that this is the biggest privilege of my life, being born in Harborside and being mayor of the city of Chula Vista, a great city, and I respectfully ask for another 4 years. Thank you.
Back to Rudy.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Wagner, and thank you, Robert from the Star News for coming out.